Hello everyone! In Module 8, we have discussed the most common mistakes teachers often make when preparing their lesson plans. In order for you to get a deeper understanding, in this module, we will continue with the same topic, but we will focus on practice only. Together, we will be studying 3 lesson plans written for the new English textbooks with different typical types of mistakes. This video focuses on mistakes in writing the lesson's objectives and designing the lesson's activities. We will first analyze how the textbook section is designed, identify the mistakes in a sample lesson plan, and then suggest ways for improvement. I do hope that this video is practical for you. Are you ready to start? Let's begin with the first example. Before we want to give any comments on the lesson plan, we first need to understand the textbook section, right? Pause this video, go to Learn, select Read 1. This is an extract from Tiếng Anh 6, Tập 1, Unit 6, Our TED Holiday, Lesson 1, Getting Started. As you all know, this section begins with a conversation, followed by the activities which introduce the topic of the unit. It then presents the vocabulary and grammar items to be learned and practiced through the skills and activities in the unit. Spend some time to read the textbook section to get an insight into its objectives and the design of the section's activities. How many parts are there, and what is the purpose of each part? Let's see. The lesson starts with an interview of a Vietnamese student sharing basic information about TED holiday in Vietnam. The purpose of this text is to introduce the topic of the whole unit. However, without any activation of the background knowledge about the topic, students are not well prepared to start off with an interview right away. Exercise 2 asks the students to decide whether or not 5 statements related to the interview are true or false. This is mainly to check the students' understanding of the interview's content, to get students prepared for the topic of the whole unit, but not to focus on the student's specific reading skill. Like exercise 2, exercise 3 is a highly controlled practice. It presents the vocabulary from the interview, which is closely related to the TED holiday topic. Next, in exercise 4, also a controlled practice. Students will have to match the words and phrases with the appropriate pictures. Some words and pictures are not related to the unit topic that have just been introduced in the previous part. This might confuse the students. Moreover, exercise 5 requires the students to look at the pictures again and decide which pictures are related to TED. This is not very purposeful when the topic and the vocab have already been clearly introduced. Not to mention that this task might be quite easy for the students. The last task is a game. The students simply write down 3 things or activities they like best about TED. Then compare their list with the members of the group. Report the results to the class. The group that has the most items wins. So, what do you think about this activity? Still, this is a fairly controlled task of listing. Additionally, the instructions are not clear enough to create a link between the game and its name, Get Lucky Money. So in general, the activities are mostly controlled practice. The task types are limited to gap filling, matching, and listing. The answers are restricted to right or wrong answers. The level of thinking and cognitive development is recognizing, imitating, and memorizing only. This textbook section is lack of more activities to activate the students' background knowledge about the topic and encourage them to use the vocabulary learned in the lesson. In addition, the section lacks stirring up activities to engage the students. So, with an in-depth understanding of the section's objectives, the design of the textbook's activities together with the purposes, strong and weak points. I guess we will all agree that in planning this lesson, the teachers certainly need to make some adaptations here. It is now time to look at a sample lesson plan written for this textbook section. Pause this video, go to Learn, select Read 1, and spend some time to read the lesson plan, then answer the guiding questions. Question number 1. What objectives are stated in this lesson plan? Are they well defined? Why or why not? Question 2. Do you want to make any adaptations to the tasks and activities in the lesson plan? Come back here when you're ready. Let's see. You may agree with me that, in general, this lesson plan has some problems with the objectives and activities. We will now look at each problem respectively. In terms of objectives, the objectives is misleading because the teacher seems to have misunderstood the main purpose of this lesson. As mentioned earlier, the interview is in fact the material to first introduce the topic of the lesson, and second, set the context for learning important language items appearing in this unit. So, the objective here should not be to read the interview. Moreover, reading something itself is not an objective. Rather, it is just an activity to achieve a learning goal. A better version should be, by the end of this lesson, the students will be able to first, develop strategies to read for specific information in an interview about Tet holiday in Vietnam. Second, accurately use vocabulary items related to Tet holiday. Third, recall basic pieces of information about Tet holiday in Vietnam. As a consequence of the wrongly identified objectives, the activities are problematic too. First, it is hard to see the big picture of the whole lesson. At the beginning, the teacher starts off the lesson by asking the students to listen and read the interview without any lead-in to set the mood and set the scene for them. Throughout the lesson, the teacher tends to stick too rigidly on the textbook. He or she is just trying to complete all the tasks and exercises provided in the textbook instead of focusing on trying to reach the objectives. Meanwhile, this textbook section is not very well written. At the end, we can't find any wrap-up to connect all the content and get the students back to the big idea. So on the whole, this plan lacks cohesion to give the lesson a big idea. So, how to improve the activities for this lesson plan? Well, you can start the lesson with a simple lead-in, getting the students look at the pictures in the textbook and guess the topic, the content of the interview. Or asking the students some lead-in questions related to the topic, or eliciting some lexical items related to the topic. So after you have introduced the topic, you now can come to the main part of the lesson with the tasks, but always remember to refer each task to the big picture of the whole lesson. To finish, some summary or reflective questions about the content of the lesson would help the students to see the big picture and recall what they have learned. Another weak point here is the lack of variety. As you can see, most of the tasks are controlled practice. Listening and reading in task 1, reading comprehension check in task 2, gap filling and matching in tasks 3 and 4. Although there is a small game at the end, but still, students don't really have a chance to use the topical vocabulary. They just simply list them and compare in groups. To make the lesson plan more lively, you should make some adaptations here by balancing between individual work and group work, adding competitive elements such as time limit or checking game, or changing the last game into a speaking activity such as find somebody who. The students will be provided with a list of questions using the learned vocabulary items. They then go around the class to ask their friends. This can be followed by a quick report from some students. In addition to those changes, this lesson plan should also include students' background and some space at the end for the teacher to note down some self-reflection or any changes for the next lesson. So to sum up, in this video, we have just practiced evaluating a lesson plan with mistakes in identifying the lesson objectives and lesson activities. In the next video, we will continue with another poorly written lesson plan. See you!